Hey guys, I'm Sid Patel at London Wine Competitions. I'm with Barbara. Barbara is Master of Wine and she's Content and Education Manager at Berry and Brothers. She's been in the industry for many years and would love to know what are some good ways to train your sales staff, especially for the retail, high-end retail boutique wine merchants. If you're a boutique wine merchant, what kind of trainings you can do, what kind of content a high-end retail store can put out, what's working, what's not. So Barbara, thanks for having a chat with me. Thank you very much. Why don't you please introduce yourself to our audience and a little bit about your journey and your role, please.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for having me here. And as Sid mentioned, I am a Master of Wine. I passed the Master of Wine about 4 years ago now, and I head up our content and education strategy at Berry Brothers and Rudd. I've been at Berry Brothers for just over 10 years now.
Wow.
And, well, time flies when you're having fun, they say.
Wow.
So my role it's really broad actually. It's a very, very exciting role. So looking not only at how we talk to our customers and how we train them, but also how we train our staff as well, how we make sure that we can communicate as clearly as we possibly can about the amazing world of wine.
Super. I'm sure there must be a lot of things that you have to do to be relevant. So let me start there. You've been one of the finest establishments, I believe oldest merchants out there in London, and you have to adapt every time there is some new, like this is a perfect example, transitioning from COVID and people's mindsets are changing. I'm sure so much online stuff you would have to do. So walk me over on some fundamental philosophies of the business.
So I think, you're absolutely right. It's a very old established company. We've been around since 1698,
Wow.
So really long time. But we say that we're never standing still. We're always looking to adapt if we need to. You touched on the pandemic, a great example. We have a thriving events business within Berry Brothers and Rudd. We've been doing events and teaching our customers for over 20 years. And during the pandemic, we took those events online. They were a huge success, and we're still doing virtual events now because you can reach people.
And those were paid events?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It still worked nice.
For sure, because
fantastic.
people can't necessarily come into London. They want to taste nice wines. They want to learn about wine with our experts. So we found that has worked really, really well for us.
Super. So let's talk about what is a good program, especially if you want to explain me more into your role, what are you being measured on, what are your key performance metrics, let's say, and what kind of reporting you do to your boss or manager, right? So just want to know more about your role.
So it's, as I say, it's very varied. It's quite a new role actually. So I have been in the role for about 4 weeks now.
Oh, okay.
So really, really, really new. But looking at sort of engagement with our customers, looking at engagement with our colleagues, looking at kind of our company profile and reputation. So focusing a lot on that as well. Looking at our events program. Are the events doing what we want them to do? Are they really reaching the customers that we want them to reach? Are we getting customers excited about our products? So
how do you measure that? One way is obviously sales and conversions.
Yeah, for sure. Also just thinking about, repeat customers. So are we getting similar people coming back to events? Are those people then going on to have a chat with their account managers about the wines that we've shown them? Is their engagement increasing with their account manager, or are they kind of dropping off? So really, how can we support those customers a bit more on that journey rather than here's some information and then leave them? How can we say, actually, let's tie you up with, let's help to set up your cellar, or let's start to have a chat about what you want to invest in.
Fantastic. And looks to me that is your unique DNA of the company, where people trust that they can just ask a question and a new customer walks in and they would just love to have a chat, and then it's a friendly way of educating them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that personable approach is so important, and it's one of the things that we've sort of prided ourselves on for the past 300 years. You can come into our shop, number 3 St James's Street, you can talk to a real person. It's not just about the wine expertise, that's absolutely there, but it's about kind of personality and really connecting with our customers.
Let's go on as an example. You have to roll out, maybe you just want to roll out a whole Napa cab program, for example. I'm just picking an easier example for me. So how would you go about it? What modules would you create? What kind of training programs would you do? And what's the rollout look like?
So in terms of training, kind of our staff, it's really important for us to rely on the industry recognised qualifications. So the Wine and Spirits Education Trust qualifications, that's kind of the basis. But then what's more important on top of that is really connecting our colleagues to the producers as well.
Oh, okay.
So having that link with the producers.
So you would set up a Zoom call, for example, with winemakers and your staff?
Yeah, if possible, we would try and get the producers over
Got it.
to do in-person staff training, because when you meet the person who has made the wine, that's when the connection happens. That's when you really understand the benefit of the winemaker's expertise. It's when you really understand how exciting that product is. So that would always be the starting point for us. Our buyers go out to the regions quite regularly, so they can also help kind of support that training program and really get those insights. It's those little extra snippets that you get when you've met the producer or if you've been to a region.
And the passion also comes, right, when they are talking about anything.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. What about the tests? Are there any particular exams or internal tests that you always keep on doing to make sure that your staff is educated, up to date?
So we try not to have too many exams. I feel that lots of people have so many traumatic memories of examinations from their childhood. But I think constant training is really, really important. It's not just a case of you learn about wine once and then that's it. It's keeping on doing tastings to make sure that people are really up to date, that they're confident in their tasting ability, keeping on introducing them to new producers or going back to old producers. And also, going back and looking at how wines evolve. That's quite an important part of our sort of training as well. So considering
what are the new trends and so on, you mean?
Yeah, but so new trends for sure, but also looking at, if you've tasted a Bordeaux wine, if you tasted it 2 years ago, how is it tasting this year? So we can really understand how wines evolve as they age.
How does the documentation work? Like, when you're doing all this programs or practical tastings, do you document? Do you have a way of record keeping? So that this person was part of this training, and then now again after 3 months, that this person has already done this training, but now maybe another region. Like, how are you? I'm just curious to understand, how are you doing each employee, and what kind of metrics and systems do you use?
So that's something that our people team are kind of looking to get set up now, perhaps a slightly more a formalized way of recording this. At the moment, every employee will have conversations with their line managers about their personal development. And
so if they just want to learn, they will just say, I want to learn this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Anything in particular tips that you may have for, let's say, other retail owners, a small merchant, on some basic ways they can start empowering their staff?
I think encouraging your staff to have the confidence to talk to customers and to share their opinions. I think in my experience, I have met a lot of staff who have said, but I don't know enough. It's not up to me to, to sort of talk to customers or to share my views. But it really is, that's what customers want. They want to hear what your staff think. They want to hear what their favourite wine is, or, who they've met. So really just building their confidence to start building that conversation with customers, I think, is the most important thing.
How do you measure when you walk the floor? I'm sure you're just observing your staff, right? So what kind of qualities are in your checklist are good, that this person, is a good wine rep out on the floor?
I think passion for the product is really important, and that, we've already mentioned that comes across very clearly if people are passionate about the product. I think someone who is going to listen to the customer. Yes, you need to be able to put forward your view, but you really need to be able to hear actually what your customer wants. And if you're not taking that on board and engaging with it, then that's going to be a problem. And someone who's a team player. It's so important in the wine trade. It's a small industry. We all have to support each other, and I think having people in your team who understand that is crucial.
What about the sales part? Like, do you have any pressure that your training program is designed that, okay, Barbara, let's increase sales by 5%. What kind of modules, what kind of sales training you can do, what kind of hand selling training you can do? Do you guys do something like that as well, where at least objective is business more, like increase profit or increase sales?
So that's not that wouldn't be under my remit, because I focus more on the wine side. But absolutely, as you know, a retail business, you can't survive if you completely ignore the bottom line. So kind of thinking about, you know, sales approaches is definitely something that we do as a business. Yeah.
As a minimum knowledge, what do you think every person on the floor should know? So at least that can be a good starting point.
I mean, ideally, you would have the WSET level 2 as a good basis point. Failing that.
So what is that? Could you elaborate?
So that
please?
is that gives you sort of an overview of all of the main wine regions of the world, the main styles of wine that come out of them.
Okay.
But I think on top of that, you really need to have an interest just in learning about new wines and new producers. The theory only takes you so far. Then you have to kind of jump in and be able and happy to taste the wines and really engage with both your kind of surrounding colleagues about them, but also customers as well.
Fair enough. Just one last thing, Barbara, about the content. I'm sure it's a big part of your role, I believe now, is to make sure you produce relevant content. And especially I'm personally, we do have other media assets as well, right? So creating contextual content. How do you go about it? Like how do you think that this is more contextual to the platform you're serving at, right? So Instagram content is different, maybe blog content is different, LinkedIn content is different. What's your theory in designing this?
I think thinking about your audience first and foremost is the most important thing. So as you say, you know, your Instagram content is going to be different to your LinkedIn content. That's thinking about who is going to be watching or experiencing that content and why they're going to be looking at that on that platform. I think it's very easy to get carried away with the message, what message do we want to send, and not think about actually who is going to be listening to that.
So before you write, you have like a who and why sort of, you just make a note as well that
got to think about who you're writing for. You're not just writing or you're not just creating content. So where is this going?
So what's your prime who? Like, is that the 45 to 65 little wealthy? I don't know. I'm just trying to. What's your who? Who's your who?
It depends. This is the beauty of these platforms, is that actually we can speak to lots of different people, and we're discovering that the range of people who are interested in fine wine and collecting fine wine, starting cellars, you know, has broadened far beyond where it used to be, which is really exciting. So instead of having quite a narrow focus, we can look, you know, really
What
broad.
kind of new trends have you been seeing?
So we're seeing a lot of sort of younger consumers wanting to start
collecting.
Yeah, exactly. So not just buying wine, but actually setting up a cellar. They're thinking about the future. They're thinking about the wines that they want to drink in 20 years' time.